I brought my brother's concert posters that he started collecting in the early 60s. As an early teenager, he used to send money for postage to Bill Graham and the Fillmore West, and they'd send him a poster in the mail to Oklahoma City.
This is a collection of 47 concert posters gathered between 1967 and 1969. Each one collected, preserved, and kept in extraordinary condition. These are not just posters. These are 47 pieces of the most important moment in the history of rock and roll. With concert posters, condition is everything. Every pinhole, every tear, every tape mark lowers the value. And whether a poster was printed before the concert or after makes all the difference between a first edition and a reprint. First editions printed before the concert are the ones that matter most to collectors, and this collection has them. 3 posters stand above the rest, and each one tells its own story. The first is the Jimi Hendrix Flying Eyeball poster from 1968, with artwork by Rick Griffin. This is among the most iconic and most desirable rock concert posters ever produced. It is the absolute peak of 1960s psychedelic art. Bold, surreal, and instantly recognizable to anyone who lived through that era or studied it afterward. This is a first edition print. You can tell by the placement of the Bill Graham name and the poster number. Number 105 from Bill Graham Presents, sitting directly beneath the word tickets. That placement is the mark of a first edition. The condition is remarkable. No pinholes, only very minor damage. The second is a Jimi Hendrix Experience poster from 1968. Hendrix at the absolute height of his career, headlining and commanding every stage he walked onto. Another first edition. Another piece of rock history preserved in remarkable condition. The third is a Grateful Dead poster from 1967. The band performing at Cafe Au Go Go in Greenwich Village, New York. Their New York premiere. The very first time the Grateful Dead ever played in New York City.
In this condition, we put an auction estimate of $5,000 to $7,000.
No way. No way.
The second one, Jimi Hendrix Experience, this particular poster is $3,000 to $5,000.
Yeah.
And over on the far end there, we've got the Grateful Dead. And that one is around $2,000 to $3,000.
Wow. For a poster.
You've got 47 posters, and for grand total of at auction between $20,000 and $35,000.
Wow.
I brought some Pearl Jam posters. They were a gift from a friend that was in the rock and roll industry. He said they are some of the first Pearl Jam concert tour posters ever created. He was on tour with them. They were given to him by the brother of Pearl Jam's bass player.
This is a collection of 10 Pearl Jam concert posters, known in the trade as gig posters, produced in the early years of the band's career in the 1990s. They were not meant to survive. They were printed in small batches, tacked up in bars and college dorms, and torn down when the show was over. Most of them are gone, but this collection survived. And what makes these posters truly extraordinary is not just their connection to Pearl Jam. It is who made them and how they were made. Every single poster in this collection was created by the Ames Brothers, Kobe Schultz and Barry Ames, using the silkscreen printing process. Silk screening is a method where ink is pushed through a fine mesh screen one color at a time, building up the image with a depth and richness that modern digital printing simply cannot replicate. The artwork on these posters is visually stunning, even outside of their connection to Pearl Jam. Bold, precise, and crafted with an attention to detail that elevates them far beyond a typical concert poster. These are works of art in their own right. Pearl Jam formed in Seattle in 1990 and released their debut album 10 in 1991. It shot them into the stratosphere overnight. They were not just a band. They were at the absolute forefront of Seattle sound, the grunge movement that swept through American music in the early 1990s and changed the direction of rock and roll forever. A connection with their audience that very few bands in history have ever matched. Pearl Jam has now been performing for over 3 decades and shows no signs of stopping. They remain one of the most celebrated and enduring rock bands in the world.
The only reason that I brought them here today was because my friend who passed away last year, Nick Scott, he loved music, he worked in the industry. They're really special to me.
Your friend Nick gave you something very special. For the collection of the 10 that you have here, it would easily be $10,000 to $15,000 at auction. They're phenomenal.
Thank you. Nick was phenomenal.
I bought them a few years ago from a garage sale. They were with a number of dorm-type posters, and I knew I was buying a piece of history. I knew it was an important piece of history, but I really haven't had a chance to really research them. I figured they were from probably the early to mid-1960s based on their content.
And how much did you pay for them?
Well, I paid 25 cents a piece for them.
This is a collection of 3 civil rights movement posters, photographed by Danny Lyon and produced around 1962. They have been used. They have tape marks in the corners. There are tears. There are small nibbles taken out by animals at some point, but none of that diminishes what they are. These are not just posters. These are primary documents from one of the most important social movements in American history. There is one detail that dates them precisely. Look at the address of the SNCC office in Atlanta, Georgia, printed on each poster. There is no zip code. Zip codes were introduced in 1963. These posters predate that entirely. The photographer behind these posters was Danny Lyon, one of the most important social documentary photographers in American history. Lyon made his name by elevating social democratic photography to an art form. He did not just photograph the civil rights movement from a distance, he was inside it. He worked directly with the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, known as SNCC, a group formed out of the sit-in protests of the early 1960s that pushed the civil rights movement to move faster and more aggressively toward equality. His name appears in the lower corner of each poster. These images were not taken for galleries or museums. They were taken for the movement itself. 3 posters. 3 moments in history. The first shows images from marches and protests, the raw, unfiltered energy of a movement that was changing America in real time. The second carries one word, now, and it was taken at the March on Washington in 1963, the very march where Martin Luther King delivered his I Have a Dream speech. One of the most significant gatherings in the history of the United States. The third reads, "Come, let us build a new world together." And in that photograph, standing the closest to the camera, is a 22-year-old civil rights activist named John Lewis. The same John Lewis that would go on to serve as a United States congressman for over 30 years. Caught in an incredibly poignant moment, praying for a better world. He had no idea this photograph would survive. He had no idea it would end up on a poster.
In my estimation, in their current condition, were they to come up at auction with all of their civil rights poignancy, with all of the prominence of the figures, with the importance of the photographer, I would estimate these 3 posters between $7,000 and $10,000.
Okay.
And as I understand it, you paid 75 cents.
Yes, I did.
I'm a little better at history than I am at math, but that's a very good return.
Yeah.